I've been an English teacher for 32 years. I've written 25 revision guides and I've marked thousands of exam essays. And this is what I've learnt that most students are most often getting wrong with their revision, and I'm going to tell you how to fix it. We're going to start with literature, then language, then general advice, and then stick around for the end because this is the advice that no one tells you. Literature. At number 1, you probably have far too many quotes annotated, especially in things like the poetry. The solution is just to pick the best quotes, and you find them like this. You write down the 5 to 7 most likely questions that can possibly come up on your text. Then you think, what quotes can I use to answer these questions? And you refine your search down to the ones that fit at least 2 or 3 answers, possibly more. That means for one text, you end up having 15 quotes, probably max, compared to the 50 quotes that are probably in your notes. Number 2, you've picked your quotes, but you're not sure how best to use them in your essays to get top marks. Well, this is easy. Focus on what the quote shows you, not just about the character, but about the author's purpose. Write down what you think the purpose is. Steal ideas from your teachers. Go to ChatGPT and ask it to write the purpose for you. Then put your notes on that quote together, paste it into ChatGPT and ask it to create revision cards using exactly the language, either academic or simple, that fits the way you learn. Then you're going to practice by getting a question, getting your revision cards, slapping them on the table and moving them about in a sequence that will fit your essay. Suddenly, your 15 quotes will narrow down to the top 8 to 10 you need for that essay. That will take you about 10 minutes. Get a new essay title, go again. Lots of top students want to reread the text so that they know it really well. Yes, great idea, but it takes too long and you're not focusing on what's going to get you the marks. Don't reread the whole text unless you're really desperate. Instead, revise from grade 9 or grade 7 essays, depending on what you're aiming for. Where will you find them? Ask your teacher. My guides are specific. They give you essays in them. Or get ChatGPT to write some for you. Any way you can get them, get hold of them, revise from essays. It takes a lot less time to read 7 essays than it does the whole of Macbeth, even the whole of A Christmas Carol. At number 4, you think that the best form of revision is reading and rereading. It 100% isn't. When you read, it feels familiar, doesn't it? But that doesn't mean it's in long-term memory. The only way is to start writing. Bullet points, plans, essay paragraphs, full essays. If you ain't writing, you ain't revising. So build up to writing those essays and then compare it to the originals, the ones in the guides, for example, and you'll see how far you've met your grade 7 or your grade 9. At number 5, when you're in the exam, your teachers has told you to spend lots of time planning, and then you find you don't have time to write the full answer properly. There are no marks for planning. However, you can memorize your plans really simply like this. Write a thesis statement. The thesis statement contains 3 ideas that the author has in writing that text. Let's imagine it is A Christmas Carol. Dickens' ideas don't change depending on whether the question is about Scrooge or Christmas, or poverty or the Cratchits. His intentions remain the same, so your thesis statement remains the same. If you write 3 of the author's ideas, that means you're trying to prove 3 things in your essay, That is 3 massive chunky paragraphs, or you can write as many paragraphs as you want, but there's 3 sections to your essay. You're going to get at least a grade 7. It cannot fail. At number 6, you hate the idea of writing practice essays, or you're watching this right before the exam and you just don't have the time to write those practice essays. Don't worry. Write your essay for the predicted question, the question that you predict is going to come up, but for all the other titles, remember there's going to be 5, 6 or 7, you're just going to get your revision cards and lay them out in ways that would answer those questions. Then ditch your revision cards, hopefully you can remember them by now, and just write your plan of the order of quotes that you would use to answer each question. That is going to take 10 minutes instead of an hour, and you will be ready, even if the exam is in 2 days' time. If the exam is tomorrow, thank you very much for watching. Fingers crossed. At number 7, your teachers have taught you a paragraph structure, but the paragraph structure isn't getting you the grades that you want. If it is, no worries. But if it isn't, it's the paragraph structure that's probably holding you back. Why? Because the paragraph structure asks you at least to have a point, some evidence, and some explanation, and usually those involve a whole sentence or more than one sentence each. That slows you down. It means you can't write that many paragraphs. However, if you learn to write point, evidence, and explanation in the same sentence, you will end up using far fewer words, writing about far more quotes, making far more points, and points make prizes. You will simply get higher marks by abandoning the paragraph structure. Remember, there's nothing in the marking criteria about what sort of paragraph you have to write. The examiners don't care. Your teachers do, because they're trying to make life easy for you. But if you're not getting the marks, you know why. It's because your structures are making you use too many words to write the explanations that will get you the marks. It's time for the language exam. At number 8, you might find that you're spending much too long planning your question 5s. Some teachers even tell you to spend more than 45 minutes on this question. Do not. It takes 60 minutes to do section A, even though it's worth the same marks as the writing question in section B. The longer you spend planning your writing, the less time you have to write. Points make prizes. If you're not writing, you're not making points, you're kissing goodbye to some marks. You might think, oh, I've got to do some planning. Fair enough, but limit it to 3 minutes. Whatever method your teacher has taught you, whatever method that might be working for you, put a timer on, practice getting it done in 3 minutes or less. For the story or description, you can jumpstart that process by writing 2 descriptions of character, 2 descriptions of weather. They're going to be opposing characters, opposing weathers, and you will be able to apply them whatever the question. Write them at home, perfect them, memorize them, bosh them out in the exam. At number 9, most teachers in most schools advise their students to write the description question, and it is boring as. You don't enjoy writing it, and certainly an examiner probably won't enjoy reading it. If you're getting top marks, no worries. But if you're not, you can dramatically increase your interest and the examiner's interest by introducing a character with an interesting perspective on the scene. Why not go all in and be original and put a dog in there, or an animal, or maybe an oak tree that's been hanging around for the last few hundred years? I bet they would have a fascinating perspective. At number 10, you're probably finding that the creative writing lessons that you have in school are rather boring when they should be fun. Writing is fun. And how are you going to make it fun in your revision? Let's build on the idea of perspectives. What if you wrote it from the point of view of a really bored God looking down, or from the perspective of a ghost, or perhaps someone you know who really, really annoys you and you can make fun of them in the writing? Don't name them though, because your classmates are your family, even if you can't stand them. Give them to your teacher to mark and say, hey, is this working? What should I do with this when I get into the exam? I can't wait. It's going to be such fun. Now we look at persuasive writing. Mr. Salles says, learn all these techniques. Mad Father's Crotch, or your teacher has got some other mnemonic. There are loads of them, and you just can't hold them all in your brain and on the page and you're writing at the same time. So this time you're going to go to your teachers and say, hey, give me 4 or 5 or even more examples of grade 7, 8 and 9 persuasive writing to revise from, please. And then you can just practice imitating them. It may be that by some miracle your teachers aren't just giving these to you to revise from, in which case go to ChatGPT. But this is the extra detail in the prompt. Don't ask ChatGPT to write something for you. No, tell it, what are the best satirical writers you know? And then it will list them. Ask it to choose the top 3 and it will list them. And then say, right, take these top 2 and write about X, whatever it is, in the style of those top 2 writers. And it will produce something for you every time, I guarantee, which is original and grade 9. It will be fun to read and fun to write. You too can imitate those writers, or you can choose your own. I love a little bit of Jeremy Clarkson. He makes me laugh even though I can't stand the man, except in the farming show. That's hilarious. I'll put a link to a bit of writing that I made that way in the description of the video. It's not actually in the table. At number 12, you might have learned the persuasive techniques and you're still not getting the grade. Well, there is a simple way to get the grade, even without worrying about the persuasive techniques. And it is this: write an interesting argument. The superpower which will allow you to do that is to think, right, I'm proposing X, because that's what the question has asked me to think about. And I'm now going to look at what society will be like in 1 year's time, then 10, then 30. Only a handful of students will be thinking more than 12 months into the future, which means your arguments will be different, they'll be original, but also they'll be meaningful because you will genuinely think through, how will society, how will this country, how will the world be different? And that is persuasive. At number 14, you've been told you've got to have loads and loads of terminology in questions 2, 3 and 4, the reading questions. Now, maybe you do and maybe you don't, but you want to go in thinking, I've nailed my terminology and I know what it is. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to narrow it down to just a few. Simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, sibilance, foreshadowing, semantic field, contrast and juxtaposition. Those are all the ones you need for a grade 9. So obviously they'll get you a grade 7. Practice them. Go to ChatGPT and ask it to write definitions and give you an examples. It sometimes makes a mistake thinking that a simile is a metaphor and a metaphor is a simile, but you're not stupid, you'll spot that. But for the rest, it's awesome. Or, just go to your teacher and say, give me 6 examples of each. And the teacher will go, yes, I'm totally prepared. Here you go. Or maybe not. Or, time for a plug. Buy one of my guys and just nick them from here. Teachers don't read them, so it's not plagiarism, is it? Well, it is, but you'll write your own anyway, based on my examples. They will inspire you. Number 15, and this is a big one, you run out of time. You probably found, at least in one of your mocks, that you just didn't nail the timings. And so what are you going to do? Well, you don't have to do this, because if you're getting the marks you want, don't do what I'm advising. But if you're missing the grade that you want and you're running out of time, this is the cure. do question 5 first, then find a way to do question 4. Why? Because question 5 and question 4 on paper 1 is worth 75% of the marks. On paper 2, 70% of the marks. The papers together, 72.5% of the marks from just the first 2 questions. Nail those and you are cruising. Do it 1 to 5 and you will always risk running out of time, chucking marks into the wind. Okay, now we come to the general revision advice. You're probably revising from my videos and probably some other YouTube creators. It takes time, doesn't it? So here is an obvious fix. Play the videos on 1.5 speed. Research says 1.5 speed is fully intelligible, fully processable, and you will miss no meaning. Smash your revision 50% quicker. Hopefully you are someone who takes notes from my videos, but hell, it takes time. This advice is for you and also for you if you don't ever take any notes from the videos. If you go to YouTube, you can click on the description and then click on the transcript. You can copy the transcript, whap it into ChatGPT and say, please turn that into punctuated sentences and paragraphs. Bosh. But then you go to ChatGPT after you read it and it's starting to make loads of sense in your mind and you're going to say this. Please organise this in precise and concise bullet points. And suddenly my awesome script will be reduced to a small bit of actions that you can easily follow and memorise. Smart. Please watch my video first because YouTube doesn't give me the moolah if you don't watch. This happens to me all the time, number 18. Maybe it's because I'm old, but maybe this happens to you too. So I've revised all the power and conflict, then I revise how to write a brilliant short story, then I'm going to revise all the awesome ways to do description, and then the persuasive writing. But then I go to revise an inspector calls and I find I've forgotten everything else that I revised. It was just too much. So this is really going to help you. So I take my inspector calls and I say, what has the inspector calls got in common with A Christmas Carol? Well, they've both got ghosts in it. They both involves the idea of transformation. They're both trying to teach a lesson. And it's the same lesson about being helpful and charitable to the poor and so on. The more links you make between both texts, the more you'll remember both well. And then you can say it is similar but also slightly different because, and when you do that, you remember both texts even better and then you smash that exam. It's time for the 3 bonus tips which will make the most difference to your exam result. More than anything else I've told you. At number 1, although it's actually number 19 on our list, handwriting speed. Remember, points make prizes, so the faster your handwriting, the more points you're going to make, the more marks you're going to get. If you read loads of grade 9 essays, they average over 900 words. If you read loads of grade 8 essays, you can guess it, they average over 800 words. You know what's coming next with grade 7, 700 words. If you want the grades, you just have to write damn quickly. You don't have to be super clever. You just have to be determined. How will you practice? You might start at 5 minutes if you're lazy. You might start at 10 or 20 or 30. But what you're going to do is these short bursts where you try and write as much as possible. Count the words, write them down. Come back a day later, try and beat your personal best. Over a week or 3 weeks, you will go from being moderate to being amazing. Points will make prizes. You will jump at least 1 grade, possibly 2. This might lead to problem number 20. Either it will give you handwriting which is too messy, or you can't build up your speed because you have beautiful handwriting and you take pride in it. So here is my advice. The examiners prefer tidy writing because it makes life easier. However, as long as they can read it, they can give it a mark. And if they can read it super easily, you don't get any extra marks. There is no marks for presentation. So be as messy as necessary so that an adult will still be able to read it. Check it with your teacher and say to them, is it easy for you to read every word I've written? If the answer is no, if your teachers cannot read all of your writing, then AQA allow you to type. You can ask your teacher to check the rules, these are official. If the examiner can't read all your words, they can't give you a fair mark, and so you are allowed to type because you can type probably much faster than you can handwrite. It's an unfair advantage, but so is being born in England, and so is having a free education. So exploit it. This is the guide that people most want to read, and so the next video is going to be a grade 9 essay on an inspector calls. You know what to do with it.